Hello and welcome back to the Movie Memo Recaps. Today we are going to recap a 2025 movie titled Sisu, Road to Revenge. Please be advised that there will be spoilers ahead. The film opens on the desolate landscape of the Soviet-Finnish border, marking the somber conclusion of World War II. Former Finnish commander Atami arrives in his truck, accompanied by his loyal dog. As he approaches the border, a guard inspects his passport while soldiers scrutinize his face under the dim light. Deported due to the newly drawn boundaries, Atami now crosses into the Soviet Union, returning to a home that bears the scars of tragedy, his family brutally murdered by merciless Soviet soldiers. Upon entering his old house, he is met with a haunting silence and layers of dust that speak of abandonment. Memories flood back as he discovers height markings on the wall, a poignant reminder of his children, and he is overcome with grief. In their rooms, he finds a cherished family photograph, deepening his sense of loss and devastation. Meanwhile, in the depths of Siberia, Soviet Army officer Yeager is released from prison, haunted by the memories of his past atrocities. He is the very man responsible for the horrific slaughter of Atami's family, justifying his cruelty by claiming they were saving ammunition. Yeager learns of Atami's legend, a vengeful figure who has avenged over 300 soldiers and earned the moniker Immortal. With news that Atami has entered the Soviet Union just 10 hours ago, Yeager is tasked with eliminating him to secure a lucrative reward and a chance to return home. Determined to honor his family's memory, Atami gathers logs to rebuild a semblance of home amidst his grief. As evening falls, he finishes tying up the wood and burns the remnants of his past. On his journey back, he is intercepted by a jeep. Two Soviet soldiers emerge, and from behind them, Yeager watches intently. The soldiers check Atami's passport and relay it to Yeager, who recognizes him and orders his execution. Anticipating the impending violence, Atami prepares for confrontation. One soldier approaches with a Molotov cocktail while another moves to puncture his tire. Seizing the moment, Atami kicks open the door just as the Molotov explodes, engulfing the soldier in flames. He swiftly reverses, crashing into the other soldier and sending him crashing into Yeager's vehicle. Gunfire erupts as Atami wrests control of one of their weapons and takes them hostage. Yeager and his remaining soldier pursue Atami relentlessly. As they reach a church, another army van blocks the road. Yeager instructs his partner to remain still. In a twist of fate, Atami's hostage bolts from the truck, mistaken for him, and is gunned down by the soldiers. Seizing this moment of chaos, Atami retaliates. As Yeager orders his partner to hold steady once more, Atami punctures a tire. Both men lock eyes in a fleeting moment before Atami retreats to his truck and speeds away. Yeager calls for reinforcements as soldiers on motorcycles give chase. They quickly close in on Atami's vehicle. When one soldier reaches his window and fires, Atami realizes too late that their helmets are bulletproof. The chase is relentless, with Atami narrowly evading capture. He loses sight of his pursuers momentarily but quickly regains his bearings on the road, the sound of motorcycles still echoing behind him. Suddenly, he witnesses one of the bikers tumble off, realizing they are closing in. Before he can react, he jumps out of his vehicle and slams the brakes, causing the biker to crash into the front. With agility, Atami grips onto the bike and uses a hook to pull himself up, managing to send the rider sprawling onto the asphalt. As two other bikers speed past, spotting a parked car, Atami crashes into it, creating a fiery explosion that momentarily halts his pursuers. In the midst of the chaos, one biker lunges for the truck, attempting to kick Atami out of his seat. But Atami hangs on fiercely, seizing an explosive from the fallen rider. He shoves it into the spikes of the truck and detonates it, sending debris flying. With precision, Atami uses a hook to ensnare the head of an attacking soldier, yanking him down to the road below. Regaining control of the situation, he pulls on the rope with such force that it decapitates the soldier. With all bikers neutralized, Yeager retaliates by hurling a Molotov cocktail at a nearby car, but Atami is quick thinking. He tosses the soldier's body towards Yeager's vehicle, where a grenade detonates just as Yeager leaps clear. Atami drives deeper into the woods to escape the flames, successfully evading the inferno. Meanwhile, Yeager calls for reinforcements, requesting air support. Stopping briefly on the road, Atami gives his dog some water and uses the rest to cool down the overheated engine. As he lies back, he extracts a bullet fragment from his cheek. Before long, jets appear overhead. Realizing danger is imminent, Atami hurriedly loads his dog back into the truck and speeds off. The jets unleash a barrage of fire as he veers into an open field, then quickly returns to the road to dodge their attacks. He takes refuge in a barn, but soon recognizes the peril he's in. As bombs rain down around him, he bursts out of the exploding structure just in time. Navigating through the woods, Atami finds himself pursued once more as flames engulf his surroundings. The jets continue their relentless assault from above. The soldiers make a tactical move to dive in for rapid fire, but Atami reacts instinctively. He slams on the brakes, causing one jet to crash spectacularly. Emerging from the chaos, the air grows quiet as he resumes driving, unaware that he's on the edge of a canyon while the jet remains hidden from view. Suddenly, it ascends and makes a U-turn, barreling toward him with guns blazing. As its ammunition runs dry, the pilot makes a desperate decision to ram into Atami's jeep. In a split second, Atami shoots at a rope tethered behind him, halting his vehicle just in time for 3 logs to tumble down and force the jet to veer off course and explode. As he sets about repositioning the logs, he notices the pilot has landed nearby and takes aim at him. With bullets expended and his grin fading, Atami approaches cautiously. But then he hears it: a new plane is approaching. Realizing he must act fast, he retrieves the logs and drives away just as the soldier bids him farewell with an unsettling smile. The jet begins its assault with bombs raining down once more. In a desperate maneuver, Atami drives off the cliff and plunges into the water below, seeking refuge from the chaos above. The truck is rapidly filling with water. In a desperate attempt to save his dog, Atami helps him get some air and carefully opens the window to escape. However, he quickly realizes he must retrieve the logs to release the tie that binds him. Just as he prepares to exit, weakness overcomes him, and he collapses. Miraculously, his dog manages to rise and, using a log for support, helps Atami regain his strength. As Atami stirs back to consciousness, he sees his dog checking on him. Meanwhile, Yeager reaches the cliff and surveys the remains of his fallen soldiers. He dispatches more men into the sea to search for survivors. They report that the truck has been located, but there are no signs of anyone inside. Yeager, frustrated, understands that Atami's stubbornness will drive him to continue his quest to return to Finland. Atami has ingeniously fashioned a makeshift vessel from debris, allowing him and his dog to reach the shore. There, he spots an abandoned tank. At the Soviet border station, soldiers stand guard, anticipating Atami's arrival as he prepares explosives to operate the tank. Yeager, lurking along the border, senses Atami's approach before he even arrives. With the explosives rigged, Atami climbs into the tank and maneuvers it through the woods toward the border. Yeager observes from a distance with binoculars as soldiers ready their weapons. Undeterred, Atami sets another explosive and revs the engine again. This time, flames ignite a cache of bombs strapped to the back of the tank. Although the soldiers fire at him, their bullets have little effect on the armored vehicle. As the tank barrels toward the border, it detonates just before crossing, sending debris flying but causing minimal damage. Atami swiftly disarms a wooden knife handle as soldiers close in on him. His dog emerges first, followed by Atami, who is visibly weakened. Yeager prepares to shoot him down just as several cars pull up with high-ranking officers who insist that Atami must be taken alive. Yeager begrudgingly drags Atami toward them and knocks him unconscious. Atami awakens in a dark cell, where he is subjected to brutal beatings with a fiery whip. Soon after, Yeager enters and orders the soldier to leave. He coldly recounts the countless women and children he has killed over the years, admitting he doesn't remember their faces, except for one, Atami's son. Yeager recounts how the boy fought fiercely to protect his family, wielding a knife in desperation but ultimately failing. He shows Atami height markings on the wall that ignite a wave of rage and sorrow within him. Yeager chillingly describes how they dismembered innocent lives with iron shovels and claims that while others say Atami ignited a fire within him, he will extinguish it himself. Yeager informs Atami that he is being taken to a place where they will erase all memories of his past life and teach him that Siberia is a hellish place for anyone who dares to survive. As Yeager leaves, Atami screams in fury. Once alone, fueled by anger and desperation, Atami summons all his strength and breaks free from his restraints. He finds himself inside a train car. Outside, 2 soldiers hear a loud thud and see him lying on the floor, fear washing over them. Slowly rising to his feet, Atami prepares for confrontation as the soldiers nervously decide who will go in first by playing rock paper scissors. The loser takes the key. Meanwhile, the knife that Atami had broken the handle off remains concealed within his skin, a hidden weapon of desperation. As he reveals it now, he observes the first soldier hesitating to open the door. He unlocks the door and steps inside, gun raised, cautiously approaching the seemingly vulnerable Atami. Outside, the other soldier braced for horror soon hears the sharp crack of gunfire. Trembling with dread, he lifts the lid to find the second soldier's face. When asked if everything is all right, nods in eerie calm. But as he opens the lock to enter, he He is met only by the sight of his comrade's mangled body. The soldier leaps from the moving train. Atami readies himself with a gun. Inside the train car, officers gather around a table, laughing and conversing. Yega leans in to assure the head officer that if his promised rewards are delivered, he will part ways. The officer responds with an intimidating tone, asserting that he will receive what is owed in due time, but first, they must celebrate. They raise their glasses in Yega's name, but he remains unmoved by their revelry. As the train speeds onward, Atami grips a sickle and stealthily makes his way to the next car. The soldiers inside are deep in slumber. He tiptoes past them, acutely aware of one stirring but ultimately remaining asleep. Just as he navigates through their outstretched limbs, one soldier awakens and darts out of sight. Atami quickly slips into the next coach, where more sleeping soldiers lie. He moves quietly but senses another presence approaching from the opposite side. Without hesitation, he hurls the sickle. On his periphery, Atami notices another soldier waking up. He swiftly dispatches him with multiple stabs, muffling his screams. Blood drips onto the floor as Atami continues his grim journey while another soldier in deep sleep accidentally knocks over his bottle without waking. As he presses on, he notices blood splattered on his face. The soldier is stirring. Reacting quickly, Atami drops to the ground. He discards the shards while the dead body collapses beside him, rousing the others from their slumber. Yet somehow, Atami escapes unnoticed. He opens the door to the next coach and finds armed soldiers inside. Climbing to the roof of the train, he continues his advance until a sudden pipe sends him tumbling down into their midst. Using the pipe as cover to redirect bullets towards his enemies, he grabs a fallen soldier as a shield while bullets whiz past him. After a tense silence falls over the scene, Atami seizes the opportunity. Armed with several weapons now, he unleashes a rapid barrage on the remaining soldiers, ruthlessly eliminating them all. Meanwhile, in their revelry, the officers remain oblivious until Yega senses something amiss. As Atami finishes off the last of the soldiers, Yega steps outside to investigate. He steps out of his coach and methodically unbuckles the screw, leaving behind the remnants of the train. Atami emerges to witness Yeager hastily splitting the train and speeding away. To his side, he spots a massive missile. Meanwhile, Yeager returns to the table and, with lightning speed, plunges a knife into the officer seated nearby. The officer chokes, and onlookers mistakenly assume he has overindulged at the feast. But as blood begins to seep from his wounds, Yeager methodically picks off the soldiers one by one, deliberately sparing the head officer. In a moment of desperation, the officer retrieves a suitcase, opens it to reveal a fortune in cash, and lowers his gun in a false gesture of relief. But in a swift betrayal, he pulls out a shotgun and finishes the officer off. Yeager takes a moment to savor his victory. Meanwhile, the soldiers who have awakened stumble into the coach where the carnage unfolded and are met with a horrifying sight of slaughtered bodies. They rush outside only to find Atami has ignited the missile, incinerating them in an instant. Using the missile's explosive power, he tears away a section of the coach to make his escape. Yeager laughs triumphantly at the sight of the money while the lights flicker ominously around him. Suddenly, he senses an approaching presence and turns to see Atami rushing toward him. The two coaches collide violently as Atami bursts through the doors. Yeager manages to throw Atami off but not before Atami smashes a bottle over his head. A fierce brawl ensues between them. Yeager shoves Atami behind a table and delivers brutal kicks that leave him weakened. Yeager retreats momentarily to grab a suitcase, attempting to flee, but Atami rises again to confront him. In a desperate move, Yeager waterboards Atami in the sink. Grasping a fork, Atami retaliates with a stab that catches Yeager off guard. But Yeager quickly regains control and beats Atami mercilessly with a rod until he collapses, gravely injured. "Was that your idea of revenge?" Yeager taunts before leaving, expressing disappointment that it wasn't more legendary. He picks up a shovel and strikes Atami aside the missile, which remains secured by bolts. Approaching Atami with a casual demeanor, Yeager asks if he has any last words, only to be met with Atami's defiant glare as he spits out one of the bolts holding the missile in place. The missile begins to loosen and charge forward. Yeager bolts back as it inches closer, finally halting just inches from his face. Atami halts his open coach, watching from afar as the burning missile still looms ominously. Initially relieved that it has stopped, Yeager suddenly charges at it, tearing his face away just before it detonates, obliterating the entire train. Atami braces for impact, his expression filled with wrath as he witnesses the explosion. On the Finnish border near the rail tracks, two soldiers hear the blasts and prepare their weapons in fear. As Atami approaches on a manual coach loaded with logs, they keep their guns trained on him until he presents his passport. Recognition dawns on them. and they immediately salute him. Back in Finland, Atami is putting the finishing touches on his home, with his loyal dog by his side. Soon after, a group of men appears with axes and sickles. Upon seeing them, Atami instinctively drops into a defensive stance, ready for battle. As they draw closer, they explain they came to offer assistance. Bewildered by their kindness, Atami's expression softens, tears well in his eyes as he realizes their intent. The man leading them recognizes his reaction and encourages the others to join in their work. As they begin to help him, Atami feels an overwhelming sense of love and belonging for the first time in ages. Thank you for watching. If you are new, don't forget to subscribe for more recaps. Until next time, have a nice day.